Howdy folks, Nathan here with a 2023 Hyundai Santa Cruz SEL. Happens to be my Hyundai Santa Cruz SEL. Yep, I bought this for about $32,000. And it has all-wheel drive, it has the base engine, and it's one step above the base model SE, but a lot less expensive than our long-term Hyundai Santa Cruz that we've been driving for a while, which has the turbocharged engine. It's a 2022 model, and it also has an 8-speed dual clutch. This has an automatic transmission, which I'm very happy about. I'll talk about that in a second. I wanted to update you guys on what's going on with this vehicle. Now, I haven't done a lot to it except for really tires, and that's what the main part of this video is about. Upgrading to tires makes a huge difference, and we're going to show you exactly what type of tires we have. But before that, I'll tell you what I've done so far in terms of driving the vehicle. I've driven it back and forth from Aurora, Colorado to Boulder, Colorado several times since early November. Yeah. When I say I mean my wife drives it too, which I'm kind of bummed about. But anyway, the point is that this has so far been flawless, no big deals, no problems, no issues. Very smooth shifting 8-speed that seems to have a little bit of a stutter sometimes going from second to third, but doesn't seem to affect the performance. So far I've been averaging between 25 and 27 miles per gallon combined. Tires actually make a little bit of a difference. I'll go into that once again in a second. And since I've purchased it, it now has about 3,600 miles on it. So in about 3 months, 3,600 miles, that's about right. Important issues about this vehicle. First of all, it took me about 4 months to get it, and Hyundai was great. I did not go through the automaker to get any types of discounts. I paid just like you and I, and fortunately, the Champ dealership here in Colorado charged me sticker, not a dime above. Whereas in other dealerships, especially in California, and other ones in Colorado Springs and whatnot, wanted to upcharge for additional components to the package, which are completely unnecessary. I get a standard 10-year, 100,000 mile warranty with this vehicle. That in itself makes me feel a little bit better because, as I said, my wife drives it. Okay, so why did I buy this instead of, say, a Nissan Frontier? Nissan Frontier that I wanted, just the base model, was about $5,000 more. And my budget was to try to keep the price under 40 and preferably under 35. My reasoning? Because I'll be able to pay that off much sooner. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of halfway there right now. I do not believe in making payments if I can avoid them. You should talk to Moto Man about that because he's all about that. I love the utility of this vehicle. So far, I've towed about 3,000 pounds with it. It didn't like 3,000, but then I towed a 2,000 pound trailer and it was a piece of cake. So it seems to be okay with 2,000 pounds on the hitch. Not only that, but it actually has a self-leveling rear suspension system, which works really well, but you have to drive it a little bit for it to kick in. It actually remembers the height, the standard height, and then goes back to it. It can hold around 1,400 pounds and change. I've already tested that because there was a food drive, and I actually was able to get 3 rather heavy pallets of canned food up on here, stacked about so high, and each pallet weighed about 600 pounds. So I went over the weight, but it was for a good cause, and I figured it could take it. It took it like a champ, no problems. Drove all around Denver with all those cans, piece of cake. I've used this to haul lumber. I've used it to do DIY stuff. I've used it for, as the tailgate actually, as a place to work. There are a couple issues, one of which I do wish it had a little bit more horsepower. Puts out 191 horsepower, and it up here, probably 170 realistically. So it can kind of like beg for power, especially going up the hills. But around town, it's just fine. Highways, it's been just fine. Cruise control works really good, and it does have lane departure warning and correction as part of this package. I did not want to get that sliding tonneau cover like the one that we have on our long-term vehicle. Why? Because all this space is compromised by that sliding container. So there's a container here, and the whole thing spools out and spools in. So that is gone, and I have more usable space, and I've used this space. So I'm very happy that I don't have that. However, because I didn't get that package, I don't have roof rails. I know it sounds kind of like it was a minor issue, but really, if I had roof rails, the little things that stick out about, an inch or so, you can hook things on that clamp and then put on a roof rack, which I do use. I go off-roading, I do a lot of camping and fishing and whatnot, so I'd like to put one of those on here. Unfortunately, I might have to get one of those that you have to hook to the door. Well, not to the door, but the door frame, I should say. And I really dislike those because I find that they can be compromised and they might screw up the paint. And it's my new car. And yeah, I kind of consider it a car. It drives like a car. It doesn't drive like a truck at all. When it was towing, though, it kind of felt a little trucky-ish. There's no brake controller inside. You can get a kit to put one in there. It's pretty easy. But this vehicle's maximum towing rating is 3,500 pounds. Its big brother can tow up to 5,000 pounds. That's with the big turbo. However, I'll be honest with you, this seems to be its happiest when it's towing well under 3,000 pounds. And Andre and I would both suggest that that's what you stick with, because that extra capacity and having room back here to put stuff in, you just don't want to overload it. Doesn't that make sense? But a lot of things changed recently when I installed new tires. Let me tell you about them. The Santa Cruz originally came with Kumho tires, and they were perfectly adequate. They worked fine on the street. They seemed to be pretty efficient tires and quiet tires on the highway. Handling was okay. Not brilliant on snow and ice. They were adequate. But I didn't realize how much I was suffering on snow and ice until I put these on. Now, before I get into these tires, let me tell you what happens in front of my house. There is about a quarter mile of frozen water and ice. Now, what happens is in Colorado, we have the sun that pops out right after a snowstorm, and this stuff turns to ice because it freezes overnight. Then we get another snowstorm, which puts more snow on top of it. That makes for very slippery conditions. Yes, so it's very challenging with regular and even all-weather tires. However, these are a little bit different. These are BF Goodrich Trail Terrain TAs. And I just put them on here less than a week ago, right before a major snowstorm. And let me tell you something. The siping and the design of this tread and how mushy it is even right now, even though it's pretty cold outside, is a pretty good indication that these things are really built for snow. But you can also find that there is a snowflake index on this tire. So there's mud and snow, and it is rated with the snow peak, snowflake. This is fantastic in the snow. In the future, and not far from now, I'm going to be taking this vehicle to Moab, Utah for the Easter Jeep Safari. Yes, I know it's not a Jeep, but it's my car, so I'm going to take it there, and it gets good mileage. So I'm going to take it there, and I'm actually going to put it into some soft sand, light rocks, some dunes, and gravel. And I want to see how these perform because they look pretty stout. The only issue I've had so far, other than the fact they don't come standard with raised white letters, which I would really like, and yes, the other side doesn't have them either, is the fact that I think I'm down 1 mile per gallon combined with these tires. Now, bear in mind, they haven't been fully broken in yet, and they may improve over time as everything evens out, but it makes sense because this is a heavier duty tire that has real beefy lugs in it. So a little bit more rolling mass, but this has a 60,000 mile warranty for 6 years, whichever comes first, which is better than a lot of other tires out there. So far, they have proven to be excellent. Now, if you did what I did, which is you didn't opt for the more expensive stereo, which has its subwoofer back here, you actually have some decent storage. So I'm able to put a lot of stuff here. And here's a cool thing. I saw a video where a guy found a place to relocate the jack underneath that seat and still not lose foot space. So I may do that in the future and have all of this as storage as well. As it sits, that storage is great for all my emergency stuff. And then at the same time, there's just enough room for my younger kid back here. And as long as my older kid's either sitting in the front or behind my wife, plenty of space. And yes, this is kind of an eyesore, but it's a temporary trash thing. Eventually I'll buy a proper little trash doohickey to put back there. Okay, a couple things. First of all, I always answer this question, so I'll just throw it out there. Why didn't I get the Ford Maverick? It's fantastic. It's a great vehicle. I particularly love the hybrid. It gets excellent mileage, and I'm all about economy, especially stretching my dollar. However, I wasn't as comfortable driving it, and my wife liked this car better. And that's kind of the bottom line. Not only that, my kids did too, and they love this color. I call it the Turtle, which may be appropriate considering the fact that it's not the fastest car I've owned, that's for sure. But it's proven to be a very good companion. I'm very happy with it. These tires so far have proven to be outstanding. Final thoughts. Am I going to modify it? Am I going to lift it? Put giant lights on it? Racks, and metal, and bars? Not so much. Modifications are going to be very, very minimal. I might upgrade the stereo system at some point in time. There will be some additional lights that will be hidden, not sitting right out in front. I'm not going to lift it because I want it to keep its dynamics the way they are. I think it's a fine height. I'm not going to be off-roading it very much, just light sand. It's not built for that. I have projects at TFL and at home that I can off-road. This is a commuter that can do light off-roading, which you'll see in the future. Final thoughts on this vehicle. So far, so good. I hope that I can make it last for years and years and years, as long as it keeps putting the smile on my face, and more importantly, keeps my money in my wallet, because this thing is a bit of a bargain. I know, not as inexpensive as a Ford Maverick, but good luck getting one that is inexpensive right now. You can kind of get these. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.